folks? You're watching MeadvilleCalendar.com. We're here in the woods, and we're here with two pretty awesome people. Do you guys just want to say who you are and what's going on? Where are we today?
Sure. I'm Hailee Leveto, and this is my husband Jake. And we own Nova Maple Syrup, and this is Nova.
Nova!
Oh, that's Nova.
Now behind us looks like some sort of science experiment on trees. Maybe mutant trees is going on here. What's actually happening here behind me?
Well, we have 22,000 trees that we tap, and they are all connected by this tubing. We have about 110 miles of it on 4 different properties with 275 acres. And it all starts here. Every year we drill a fresh hole, put a fresh tap in it, and all the sap flows downhill towards, we have a vacuum pump at each property at the lowest point of the property, and it all collects there. About 7,500 trees on this property, and it gets all pumped to the sugar house, and the other properties we have 2 trucks that we haul it with.
So you're mostly relying on gravity to do a lot of this kind of initial work.
It's a combination of gravity and the vacuum.
Uh-huh.
A good vacuum system will double the production, especially with these soft maples here. They don't produce as much sap on their own as a sugar maple, which is traditionally what people tapped. So the vacuum and the tubing, it's all pretty much necessary these days to be competitive and make a decent amount of syrup.
Do you guys, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say maple syrup production is pretty high-tech these days. There's a lot of equipment that goes into it. Luckily, Jake has an engineering background, so when things break, which it's inevitable, right? He can fix it usually. He's rebuilt a few of our pumps before. So that was him, not me. I do not have an engineering background.
So what's the difference, the soft maple versus the other one you mentioned?
Soft maple, which would be a red maple, silver maple, just different genetics. The sap isn't as sweet, they don't produce as much sap, whereas a hard maple, the leaf looks like the one on the Canadian flag. That's, like our logo here. Typically, it's also a more valuable timber wood. It's harder, since the name hard maple, and it produces more sap at a higher sugar percent.
So when sap comes out of the tree, it just looks like water. A lot of people think sap and they think sticky, which is true of pine sap, but not maple sap. So it looks like water. It's it ranges between like 0.5% to 2% sugar.
We're averaging 1.3% this year.
And then maple syrup, do you want to take a guess how much sugar percentage is in maple syrup?
Oh, I just learned this, and I don't remember at all. I don't know. I have no idea.
Legally, it varies from state to state, but typically 66 to 67%. So 2/3 sugar, 1/3 water.
Okay, cool.
So this year, the ratio was about 60-65 to 1 sap turning into syrup.
Oh,
so we processed literally hundreds of thousands of gallons of sap to make, we're at about 5,000 gallons of syrup this year, and we hope to have a lot more, but the weather isn't really cooperating. The nights have been too warm to really freeze the trees and kind of recharge them lately.
We were hoping to wake up to frost this morning, but we didn't get it, so.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, should we check out you said sugar?
Yep,
Yeah.
Sugar Shack.
Sugar Shack. All right, let's go. All right, so our next stop here, we just came from the trees, and now we're where? What's going on here?
This is where all the sap comes to. We have we just upgraded this year. We have 2 8,500 gallon stainless steel tanks for the sap here, and then the plastic ones are actually for water. Our reverse osmosis makes a lot of completely pure water, which we store, and then we use that to clean everything.
Okay.
We try to be eco.
Yeah.
Friendly.
I see the solar panels over there. They're beautiful. So all the sap is in here. Is that what's happening?
Right. So on a good day when the weather cooperates, our property will pump up about 10,000 gallons of sap, which will fill these halfway. And we'll be processing with our reverse osmosis, which we'll check out next. And then we have 2 vehicles that haul. This is our backup truck right here, and it hauls about 2,500 gallons at once. But typically, we use our dedicated sap truck, which holds 5,000 gallons. And it'll be going back and forth 4, 5, 6 times a day.
Oh, wow.
Just dumping sap in about as fast as we can process it.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, well, let's check out the reverse osmosis.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so now we're standing inside in this wonderful experiment here. What's going on? Tell me about
This is our reverse osmosis. This is where 95% of the water is actually removed from the sap. And it's basically a high pressure pump and special filters. And we squeeze the water out, and what's left is a concentrated sap. So I mentioned earlier, our sap's coming in at 1.3% sugar. We've been taking this up to 20-25% sugar. So at that point, it only takes 4 gallons of concentrate to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. And this is anywhere from 25 to 50 times as energy efficient as either boiling with wood, or we boil with fuel oil. And this allows us to use just a sip, a little bit of fuel oil to make our maple syrup.
And how did you guys figure this out? How did you figure out to set this up?
Engineering background.
Well, back 8 years ago, when I was tapping 50 trees in West Mead, then we started tapping 200 trees. We started tapping all the neighbors' trees. And there'd be days where I'd wake up in the morning, start boiling, and I'd end the day with more sap than I started with.
Yeah.
And we had to figure out some way to process more sap. So I built this little tiny one for $500. And this is very similar, just on a much, much larger scale.
That's awesome. All right, well, yeah, let's see that.
This is, I should also mention, this is our chiller right here. This is a new thing we got this year. Once concentrate comes out, its shelf life is very, very short. We're talking hours. It's, sugar water with there's bacteria and yeast just naturally in there. It starts attacking it. So this actually chills our concentrate down to 29 or 30 degrees, just a tiny bit above the freezing point of that concentrate. And we store up to 3,000 gallons of that chilled concentrate. So now we can boil, instead of once a day, maybe once a week, and at a time of our choosing. So it's really given us a lot of flexibility in our operation, and it's also saved me a lot of stress, because the other day we had something wrong in the woods. We were going to boil. We said, well, let's just boil tomorrow and go take care of the problem right now.
Yeah. Are these built for, what is the original purpose of these machines?
A lot of industries use this. A brewery or a winery could have bought the same exact model right here to cool down the beer in progress. The ice rink in Meadville at the Mark, it's just an 80-ton version of this, where this is a 5-ton version.
Yeah, I gotcha. Cool. And maybe this one doesn't cost $400,000.
Definitely not, yeah.
So this building that we're in right now is our addition, and it was just built actually in the fall. We had moved to this property in 2015 and started setting up on a large scale to do this as a business versus just a hobby, which is what it was before. And then this addition has allowed us to make other products other than just syrup in a nicer environment, because it's heated in here, and the sugar shack where our evaporator is not heated, so it can get pretty cold in there. And
what got you guys into, you said you started as a hobby, so how did you get into this?
I used to make iPhone games just by myself, and I was kind of getting burnt out on that. Wanted to buy a bunch of land, really enjoyed the maple syrup. It's just a big engineering and problem solving experience, which is what I liked. So I kind of did the math and figured out what scale we needed to be at to make it a full-time business, and just jumped in.
You said you really like maple syrup, you just really like eating it, or you already had done something?
Honestly, I like it just as much as the average person, but there's days where we'll boil, we made over 1,000 gallons a couple weeks ago at once, and I asked, has anybody tasted this yet? And we tasted it just to verify, it's still good maple syrup.
Our 2-year-old loves to taste it for us, but usually when we give him that little sample, he's always asking for more.
Yeah, I get that. Awesome. Cool.
So we can show you some of the other products that we made. Over here we have laid a couple of them out.
All right.
So we have 4 or 5 sizes of each product. I just put a couple of them out here. Obviously this is syrup. We have our own custom label. And then we also make maple sugar. This is our largest size, which is 6 pounds. I really like to bake with it. We have maple cream, which we just got newer containers, and maple candy. Now we're gonna give Lee a few samples of this. So here is our maple candy, if you wanna taste that.
I do. It's absolutely incredible.
We're gonna give you a sugar rush here. Now here's some maple cream. Even though cream is in the name, there's no dairy in it. We don't add anything to it. We just heat up the syrup, and then we use a special machine to churn it into this creamy consistency. It's really good. It's pretty rich, so you don't need a lot. That might give you a bit of a sugar rush.
This is amazing.
So we might have to send Lee home with some more containers.
Now, do you guys do you guys cook with this all the time?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Any super secret recipes?
We try to share any recipes that we find that we like. Sometimes I'll come up with my own, but a lot of times I'm just trying other ones that are out there. There's a lot of maple cookbooks.
Mm-hmm.
We have several on our shelf, and we actually are just trying one out, which we might eventually add to our online store. Speaking of which, if you're interested in buying any of our products, we do predominantly sell on Amazon, but we also have our own website where you can order directly from us. We also sell on Walmart.com, eBay.com. I think that's it, right? Got everything?
Yeah,
Amazon,
our site
our
is
website.
novamaple.com. That's the best way to order. We ship it out directly from here, and you can choose if you want golden, amber, dark, very dark, syrup, or any other custom orders we can do.
You can also buy one of these hats if you want. Stay warm.
And did you guys grow up around here?
I did, yeah. I went to Maplewood out the Guys Mills, Townville area. But,
How fitting.
Haley is actually from.
I'm from Canada.
Yeah.
So I brought the Canadian side to this.
I know, it's so cool that we live in a place that is pretty, I think, kind of well known for syrup production, right? It's
Yeah, there's
one
a
of
lot
the
of
things-
producers in this area.
Yeah, you go south of I-80 and suddenly it just drops off. We have a very nice little localized area. I think there were almost 20 different sugar houses on the tasting tour this last weekend.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was amazing. And do you guys connect often? Are there syrup making competitions or anything like that?
They do in the fair. They have all the
okay.
different competitions there. We know some of the producers, but we're still the new people here.
New kids on the block.
Yeah, everybody else, it's third generations.
Right.
They've all known each other. We're slowly kind of getting into that a little bit more.
We're different in that we just kind of decided to start this business after starting it as a hobby, whereas like Jake said, a lot of people, it's been in their family for a few generations.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of catching up right now. We learned everything by figuring it out.
The hard way.
And it's the hard way a lot of the time, instead of having, someone hand it down to us, which of course there's no shame in that either. It's just a different way of going about things.
It's absolutely beautiful out here. And there's an Airbnb. How do people find the Airbnb if they want to stay here?
Good question. So the farmhouse that was on the property when we bought it, we lived there at first, but then we built a house. So we put that on Airbnb. So on the Airbnb website, you can look us up. We also have a page on our website where you can book directly through us.
If you just search Hartstown, PA, it's one of the first couple listings.
And it's listed on VRBO as well. So we've had several people stay since we started doing it in August, and they all seem to have a really good time. It's definitely an escape from the city out here. You can see the stars very clearly. You can hear our roosters and our peacocks. We even have peacocks on the property, and people really like that.
When I got here, Hailee showed me a peacock on the roof. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, all right, we're here at the final stop, kind of the masterpiece here.
This is where the magic happens.
Yeah, what is going on?
So this is our evaporator. It is the largest one that you can really buy standard. It is 6 feet wide by 18 feet long, and it has 3 different sections. The very top there is the preheater where the sap comes in, and then under that is the flue pan. And there are about 10, 12 inch vertical flues that go up and down in there, just a lot of surface area. And that's where most of the boiling happens. This machine will boil almost 1,000 gallons an hour of sap away at full speed. And as the sap starts to thicken up, it finishes in these 4 finishing pans. And it just kind of snakes back and forth, getting thicker and thicker and thicker, right until it hits that 67% sugar. And we draw it off and send it through our filter press right here. And at that point, we either barrel it up, or a lot of it we just put directly into gallon jugs. That way we don't have to mess around with storing them and reheating them.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I have it right. So it goes from the tree to a storage tank, which you then ship with your truck over to that large vat that we saw.
Yes.
Right? Which is then, it goes through the reverse osmosis machine in the sugar shack. And then how does it get from the sugar shack here?
So we have a 3,000 gallon tank in a cold storage room over there. In the season, it stores our concentrate. In the summer, it stores the barrels, keeps them nice and fresh. And we just have pumps. We have pumps everywhere, hundreds of pumps in this operation.
And tubing, lots of tubing.
Lots of tubing. Yeah, so when we fire up here, we'll just turn the pump on, and this machine has several float boxes that keep all the levels exactly where we want it. We don't want to burn the pans, but we want to keep the levels usually lower. That way we get the sap in and out real quick, makes a lighter, higher quality syrup.
Gotcha. So how long does this process take just to heat?
Not that long compared to everything else. That's one benefit of having a very large fuel-oiled machine is when we're ready to boil, we flip the switch. 15 minutes later, we're at a full boil. Another 15 minutes, we're drawing off 80, 100 gallons an hour of ready maple syrup. So in previous years when we were boiling every day, I'd only have to fire it up for 2 to 4 hours. Lately, we've been picking 1 day a week. We'll start at 8 a.m., finish sometime in the evening, but we'll make over 1,000 gallons of syrup.
Well, thank you guys so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Nova maple syrup, and we'll see you on the town, Meadville. Thanks.
So in previous